Hey there, it's Ariana from Ariana Mullins Bodywork, and I'm kind of going out on a limb today. I don't really make videos, but there's just something I really want to talk to you about, and that is why it's a really good idea to get some body work if you are pregnant to prepare you for an easier birth. So, this is something that I feel really passionate about because my personal story is that I had a really difficult childbirth experience, and the more that I've learned about helping women during pregnancy to prepare for birth, the more I've come to understand why my childbirth experience was so difficult, why it ended in after 40 hours of long natural labor. How did I end up having a cesarean after all that? Being someone who is fit and excited about childbirth and not feeling afraid and really feeling ready, thinking that I've been doing all the right things. I have some strong opinions about what happened and why I wish I had known the things that I want to share with you right now. So let me grab my spare pelvis here and show you what I'm talking about. So here's the pelvis. Baby is going to sit in here. I'm going to just go ahead and take out the uterus and some other parts here. I mean the bladder. But here is the uterus, and of course it's going to grow and fill up this space of the pelvic bowl. And then I'm going to pull this out, and basically, in order to be ready for birth, baby has an instinct, which is to burrow head down, right, into the pelvis. This is a face to face the back of your spine. So that when baby comes out, baby makes this rotating motion and is born, and your pelvis is designed to open wide this direction as baby is going in, and then coming through your pelvis, right? The pelvis, this one doesn't have a lot of movement in it, this model, but your pelvis does, to then these bones move inward and the bottom part opens up. And through all of that, look, we've got our sacrum here, the tailbone. This needs to open up, kind of like a garage door opening, right? To let baby come through. So what happened to me, and as I've gone through helping women with various issues, including recovering from birth, but also just general issues, a couple of things have come up that I've noticed some really strong correlations with and that resonate with me as well. When I find out that a woman had a very long birth and didn't dilate, right? Baby got stuck somewhere along the line. A lot of times it was just a very prolonged birth, and in the end the baby came and maybe a little more smushed than usual, but made it through. But the birth was long, right? And it didn't seem like she dilated easily. Or if there was a long birth and mom wasn't dilating enough to let baby through, a lot of times I find out that mom had some significant tailbone falls. So, or maybe they, things I ask about, do you remember falling on your tailbone real hard? Were you into horse riding? Did you do a lot of horseback riding, even as a child? Roller skating, ice skating, gymnastics, cheer, sports like that where you have a strong likelihood of falling on your butt. Or things that really are going to be jamming, right, that tailbone into your hip bones. What happens is that there's a compression pattern here, and so when it comes time for baby to move into the pelvis, there's literally not enough space. The bones don't open up and move to let baby get in position. And it's really baby's head that presses up against the womb bottom, right, which is the cervix, that flattens it out. That's what they're talking about when they talk about effacement, thins it out, and then dilates it. It's really the baby's head that is doing that action. Another situation is when baby isn't in the correct position. You know, the baby is lying transverse, right? That's like sideways, or the baby is breached, turned the other direction, or just hasn't dropped yet, right? Those are all signs that the pelvis is restricted in some way in movement. And that is where I come in. People who do this type of work like I do, and there's a lot of us out there, who are really committed to making pregnancy and childbirth so much easier, we can help you with structural issues. So if that tailbone is jammed, and sometimes what happens too is even the coccyx, the very tip, maybe you had a fall where you actually bent your coccyx in, right? And so imagine a baby trying to get in there, but there's this, pokey thing in the way that doesn't let baby get comfortably in the right position. So what we can do is actually help release these tissues, correct the structural imbalances that are there, so that your pelvis can open up and do the beautiful job that it's designed to do, to move in two different directions, right? Through your pregnancy and also through the birth process, and allowing your tailbone to lift, to let baby's head out, and also even to nestle in the first place. I recently had a really cool opportunity to work with someone that illustrated this in such a beautiful way. So this woman got in touch with me, and she told me that this was her third pregnancy. She'd had 2 natural births previously, but she was 37 weeks, and she had been having contractions for a couple of weeks already. And they had checked her, and she wasn't effaced at all, and she was only dilated a centimeter. And so at 37 weeks, her contractions had been intensifying, and they were coming every 1 to 2 minutes, but her baby hadn't really dropped yet, and she wasn't dilated at all. So I had her come in, and as I went through, in my mind, my immediate thought was, okay, I think she probably has some compression in her tailbone, but I didn't know yet about her other 2 pregnancies. So when I asked her about her other 2 pregnancies, she said that they were natural. She didn't really have any problems dilating. And then I asked her, did you happen to have a tailbone fall between your last birth and now? And she said, oh, well, actually, yeah, I did. I had a pretty good fall on my tailbone early in this pregnancy, right? So that confirmed what I suspected. And then as I went and I felt her sacrum and felt her pelvis, her sacrum was, and sacrum is your tailbone, was jammed up. There's compression there. One side wasn't really moving as it should. And so we helped to release that. And then I felt along down to her coccyx, and her coccyx was bent like this, right? Also impeding the space where her baby's head should be. And so we did some gentle work, and I'm talking about an hour or less of hands-on time, right? Of just helping things open up and just removing those restrictions that were keeping this tailbone jammed here. And by the time she got off of the table, her belly had completely changed. She had come in with it really high, and she honestly looked more like 7 months pregnant to me. She did not look like she was anywhere near ready to have this baby in terms of how she was holding her stomach. And when she got off the table, she had gained all this space between her ribs, right, to lower down, and her belly had dropped and had opened up a little bit more, so she's carrying more weight in the front. And she said during the time that we were working together, she felt the baby push off of her rib cage, and she was feeling pressure in her pelvis as the baby was moving lower and lower. And so this was immediate, right? And she messaged me later on, and she said as soon as her husband picked her up, he noticed immediately that her stomach was completely different, and that the baby was much lower. And she went on to report that her contractions had really slowed down, and she was feeling really much more loose in her pelvis, and her daughter was continuing to engage her head where it should be in her pelvic bowl. So still waiting to hear about that baby being born, but it was such a beautiful example of why this work is important and why it can help. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm here to help. So if you are pregnant, or you know someone who's pregnant, is having a lot of pain, maybe like sciatic pain or pain in their hips, their baby isn't moving into the right position, any breech situations, even if baby doesn't turn during a session, we can at least open up the pelvis to give baby more room to do the turning that it needs to do. It's instinctual for the baby to get into the correct position, but a lot of times when there's a situation where the baby isn't in the correct position, it's because they literally don't have the space to maneuver in the way that they need to. So I would have really benefited if someone had let me know, hey, have you had some tailbone falls? Maybe you should see a chiropractor or see someone who does specialized work for the pelvis for birth. And I believe that my own outcome for my birth would have been really different. It's okay. I feel like this was a gift I was given to help lead me down this path to help other women facilitate easier, better births for them. But I just want to share with you what I've been learning and what I've been seeing as well as I work with so many women in this community. Okay, so if you have any questions for me, please just send me a message. And I am just here to help in any way that I can. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.